So what we have here is a national conservation lands, and hey, right here is the shark fin swimming north-northeast, written in the rocks, changing geology. This is called the Red Rock Canyons, and it's also like rainbow stripes and so forth. It's pretty interesting. But let's just take a look at it. Okay, this is what they're saying. About 600 million years ago, everything was under the water, under the ocean. And then as the oceans evaporated, dried up, they became gigantic sand dunes, which were 2,000 feet. But we know that these mountains around here look higher than 2,000 feet. So was there other platelets from Earth that pushed up around the sand dunes? Because after 60 million years ago, we also had dinosaurs, supposedly, which there are artifacts. And now we have the Red Rock Mountains, and there it is. So 10,000 years ago, it became arid. So that means less water, more erosion, more rain, and these sand dunes, like I said before, 60 million years ago, became hardened. And that's what you're seeing straight up there. Those are hardened sand dunes, and then eroded, and then they erode to look just like this. And if you take a look, I'll bring up the camera and the filming, and you'll see the shark fin. And there is the shark fin right there. The shark fin right there. From where we stand to hike, you have to go straight out the desert and go up Shark Fin Pass, around the back of that mountain, around the back of that mountain, and then you go all the way around the back of the shark fin, get to the top of the shark fin. From where we stand, 4.5 hours. Today, temperatures right now is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and things change very, very quick. Not necessarily as quick as 250 million years, or to get to this point, but I can tell you right now, if it's 50 here and 5 to 10 miles an hour, on the top of that, which is 8,000 feet above sea level, we're talking 30 degrees temperature changes and probably an additional 30 to 40 mile an hour winds, especially with the overcast that you see right now. And if it gets colder and it rains, now you have ice on the rocks. Now you can't walk down, and now you are stuck up on the top of Shark Fin Mountain. So that is how it happens, and it happens. So you must be super careful. And also remember, you must always take enough water and gear to get to the top. Gloves, hats, and everything. But today we got something else special for you. Let's get started. It's going to be about a walking stick. Welcome to Education and Safety. I'm Mike. Today we're at Red Rock Boardwalk, giving you a little bit of history. But hey, today we are going to talk about a stick I found on the ground a month ago. I left it dry out. I took some soap and I put it in the top so that it wouldn't crack. You can also use wax. I did nothing to the bottom. I left it alone. But it's drying out. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little carving, take off the nubs if we can, and also we'll probably get it prepared, ready for sanding, and maybe even put like a date on it or some initials. So that's what we're going to do today out here in the Red Rock Desert on the boardwalk on the west side of Las Vegas, Nevada, and that is the shark fin straight up there. All right, let's keep going. So the question is, did these sandstone mountains really occur the way they said they occurred, or was there Earth's place pushing up, or was the entire Earth under water? Do your research, find out, and you'll know. But we know for a fact that is sediment. There's layers of sediment. Okay, you're not going to get layers of sediment like that by it just raining sand. So therefore it took a long time for that sediment to occur. And then to see the sediment stripes, that's called erosion. Now, after all this was underwater and after this all dried up and then all of a sudden we have some vegetation, people came here and they lived here. And why did they live here? Because there was spring water. Without water, no one's going to live here. And then they built huts. They survived, and that's 10 to 15, 20,000 years ago, maybe even longer. Who knows? But there's all types of artifacts in there, and I'm pretty sure on the other side of the mountain where I'm looking at over that way, there's a national park where you pay to get in, and there's museums in there. You got to get out there and check it out. I haven't been there yet, but I hear it's amazing, and it's something that you need to go see. But let's get back to this walking stick and a little bit of education. Now I wanted to mention this. If this was all under ocean, there was no mountain lions, jackrabbits, and animals living here. No birds. Everything was underwater. Then it became less water, water dried up and receded, and it became dry and arid. Now, over the past couple of years, the red spring here has been drying up and getting less water for sure. I see it pertaining to the vegetation behind me. That can be pumped with rainwater, snow water, and so forth. But the actual spring area, I see less water there. So let's get started, and we're going to talk about this hiking stick and get started. Just seeing some wildlife and birds fly by. Here we go. So when you get out to the point of the boardwalk, this boardwalk is a half-mile long. Right now, believe it or not, the temperature where I'm standing is probably easily 10 to 15 to 20 degrees colder than when I first started out at the bottom of the boardwalk over there. I can feel the cold coming in majorly. So the temperatures are changing. We're going to get started on the hiking stick. I just got to find a spot to get started. All right, we're back for part two. Part two is just starting this next day, and we had to take a day off. The weather was really cold. It's cold today, but it's about maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're going to get started on the hiking stick. So the first thing I'm going to do, believe it or not, is I'm going to carve as much bark off as I can and see how that goes. Day two, part two, day two, and we're going to get started on the walking stick, and we're going to do a little carving on it. We're going to take off the bark, and then the other thing we're going to do is possibly put the date on it, maybe some initials, maybe even put the spot where we're going to actually drill the hole for the leather strap to be more secure so it doesn't slide up and down. And that'll be really nice. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was I put soap on the end of here. I left it outside for a little bit longer to dry some more, and it doesn't look like it's going to crack. It might crack, but who knows. Then I'll sort of shape the edges of the top. And then for the bottom of it right here. So we're here, and it's part two. Let's kick it off. It's day two, part two, sunny outside. And what I wanted to mention was I put soap on the end and left this walking stick outside for a while to dry. And we're going to carve some of the bark off, take off some of the nubs. And the next thing what we're going to do after that is maybe carve a date in it, maybe even carve an initial in it. And then at that point, we're also going to drill a hole in the handle and start one at least. And then the bottom here, we're going to square that off so it's ready for the rubber tip. And let's get started. Here we go. All right, so let's take a look at this. We have the walking stick coming all the way down. And there's the shape of it. Let's go back farther here and show it to you. There it is. Okay. That is it. Now the way I walk with it, it sort of curves backwards towards me. that way the handle's sort of shaping, it's sort of going outwards like that, which is nice, versus coming back at me. So I'll end up putting probably a hole right about here underneath my thumb, right about there, right about above my thumb. I'll put one right about here above my thumb. That's where I'll put the hole. That sounds good. So I'm going to do a little carving, and we'll get going on this. So today's choice of knives is a buck knife. It looks just like this, and it's not that long, but it's nice and handy, and it locks into position, which is nice. So let me just show you what I did. I carved just a little bit of a spot right here, as you can see it right there, and I'll do that for pretty much the whole stick and see how it turns out. Maybe I'll leave some spots empty, and maybe I'll leave a few areas like different shapes, and maybe, we'll see what happens. So it's a little green, and believe it or not, there's actually the little moisture in it still. So what I'll end up doing is carving as much as I can today, and then I'll probably wax the top again, and I'll even maybe drill the hole, and then at that point, before I polyurethane it or stain it, and then polyurethane it, I'll let it dry for maybe a month or two and let it go. And then at that point, then I'll come back and I'll stain it later. So this one here looks like it's a little bit green, but the bark's actually coming off pretty easy. So I'll be able to do some good stuff with it, and carving wise, when it's more moist. But when it's drier, it's harder to carve, and it's also easier to finish right away because it's dry already. So that's where we're at right now. So I'm going to finish up what I'm doing. Let's take a look at it. All right, so what we got so far, let me show you. We got definitely it's a green piece of wood that must have broke off during a storm and didn't dry out yet totally for this particular one. So the bark is coming off very, very easy. And when I get back, I'm going to put some probably some more soap on top, and maybe even some wax. But the top part pretty much is done. I'll let that alone. Now I'm going to work on the bottom part, and we'll go from here. Let's see what we can do. All right, so let me show you what I did down here. What I did was, this is the handle area, and I carved down this way so that the bark now is going to dry. I'm going to probably leave some of this alone in here, and maybe you'll get it after it's dry. And then I went all the way around. I took my knife straight down like this. I went downwards, and I would cut downwards like this, and that way it feathered, and the bark will dry. We'll see what happens with that, and we'll let it go. There's a little snub right here. I got the best I could. If it breaks, it breaks. If I have to sand it down more, I will later. And now what I'm doing at the top part right here, which is, I'm working at the bottom section, and what I'm doing is I'm coming upwards. I'm stroking upwards so that the bark will dry around that area, and then I'll go all the way to the tip, right to here. So I'll go all the way up to the tip. Okay, so what I did was I carved the bottom of the walking stick, as you can see, and I also carved to the tip. Now I didn't take off all the nubs completely, okay, but I did get them pretty good. And then the bottom, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a rubber bottom on this, and that'll stop it from drying too fast, and I can use it at the same time. And now what I'm going to do is, I made a decision, I'm going to take the bark off on everything. So we'll see what happens. Here we go. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is finish this up. The sun is going down. We're going to be in shadow, so I'm going to finish this up. I put the little notches on each side where I'm going to actually put the hole, and I'm going to drill a hole when I get back. And the other thing too, I'm losing my sun real quick. It's going down over here behind the mountain here in Red Rock Canyons in Las Vegas, Nevada. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish up the bottom of this thing, and then what we're going to do is we're going to carve the initials in. And when I first came here, believe it or not, I saw a gigantic, it was either a hawk, an owl, or an eagle. Not sure, but it was flying really low in the washout here. And now all the birds are sitting over here in the bush, probably just trying to protect themselves. And they're flying from bush to bush. They're looking for that bird because it's around here somewhere. I don't see it. It might be over there. There's a possibility it's over there. So they're just being protective. And they're hanging around me just to be, I guess, safe. I have no idea, but I think I see it over there. All right. So we're going to finish this up. We're going to let this dry. We're going to use it. I'll show it to you when I'm done. So part 2 is going to be finished, and I'm just going to put some initials in and head out of here. All right, here we go. There it is. It is a golden eagle, I think. I can't tell. But it's hunting. I don't know if I got it, but it flew right by me. That was the weirdest thing. And now the birds are still hanging here, so they're just protecting themselves. That was really strange. So I did catch a glimpse of it, and it was probably about 75 to 100 yards away. And when I was filming it, it took off. Now it's behind me, so I'm not sure what it's doing, but I'm going to just finish up here. Thanks for joining me today on Education and Safety. I'm Mike, and until again, part 3 will be when it's all dried out, and we'll stain it and we'll polyurethane it. Maybe part 3 will be me putting the rubber tip on it and putting the handle on it, the rubber handle on it, I mean the leather grip on it. And that way when I get it finished and it's dried out maybe in 6 months to a year, then we can stain it and have a part 4. All right, thanks for joining me. We'll see you. All right, so we finished this up here, and I got the whole walking stick pretty much carved off. Now I'm going to let it dry, put some wax in the top. I'll drill a hole. I'll put a leather grip on the handle area, and I'll put a rubber tip on the bottom, and I'll just use it. And as it dries, I'll finish it off, and hopefully it'll dry nice and slow. I'll probably put some, if I can get some wax, like a little candle, I'll put some wax in the top here. Since I have the rubber grip that the rubber end that I'm going to put on, that'll seal that on then. So we'll see how it finishes out, and probably be dry 6 months to a year, maybe sooner, who knows. So that'll be it. One other thing too, some of the shavings on the ground squirrels, birds, they'll use that for nesting. They'll find that and they'll use for nesting. And other thing too was that large, I think it was an eagle, I'm not sure what it was, that flew by, but that's why those birds were sitting over here in the shrub, being protected away from that because it was hunting. So that's what they're doing in here. They come down here in the washout, these large predator birds, and when the small birds come to get something to drink, that's when they go. So I wouldn't be surprised when I climb back up over here behind me to get out, I'll see something. All right, thanks again for joining me. All right, that should do it. Oh, I'm going to probably carve the date and the initials in right now if I have time. If not, I'll do it another day. All right, so what I did was I put a initial on the side here of the handle, up top. My grip is going to be way up there, so I just put it down here. I put an R and a 2024. All right, and now I used a permanent marker, and I'll just carve that out right now. All right, so what I did was I used the tip of the knife and I rolled it. So I rolled it and I just rolled it around the edges, and I rolled it around the numbers. I made it really, really harsh. So it's just, it's pretty tribal looking. And let me just show you here if I can do it real quick. So what I did, let's see if I can get this balanced right. Okay, here. So what I did was, to do this, I would roll the knife. I roll it. I would not carve pulling towards me, cutting away from me, or using the tip. And I would just roll that knife in there and then get all those things done. So once the black was gone, I knew I had it done. So now I'll just let it dry. And if I need to clean it up a little bit, I will. But if not, it is what it is, and it's good.